Hello, this is Shikshavina. Today we are going to learn more about the basic terms and concepts of chemistry. I have discussed in the previous class about elements. Now in this lecture I am discussing here about compound. Now the question which arises in the mind is, what is compound? When two or more than two kind of atoms combine chemically in a fixed composition, fixed proportion, then we get a new kind of particles which we call compound. Have you got my point? So here, when two hydrogen atom combine with one oxygen atom, it makes one water molecule, and the identity of this water molecule is different than hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen is gas, oxygen is gas, but water molecule or water is liquid. So the properties is different than individual atoms by which it is formed. That is the strange thing which allow the atoms to combine to form a new kind of substance. This is very elegant idea, and it is true that all things depend on what relationship or bonding in your own life also, and in chemistry also, whether living or not living. So bad guys, in the relationship with bad guys, your property becomes bad, and in relationship with good guys, your behavior becomes good. In a similar way, we can say that each individual things may lose its own identity, and which forms collectively a new kind of substance in a chemical reaction. And each unit of the compound is called molecule. Here, two hydrogen atom and one oxygen atom combine to form a molecule, and the molecule, the collection of molecule which we see around us, we cannot separate one molecule from it. So we treat it as substance which have several molecules which we see around us. So these are compounds. I've got my point. And what do we mean by fixed composition? Means it take part in the chemical reaction with a certain ratio. For example, its number ratio is 2:1, and its ratio by mass is 1 gram, 1 gram, 2 gram of hydrogen, and oxygen has 16 gram. In 1 mole, you will deal about mole in next lectures. So 2 gram is to 16 gram, which becomes 1:8. So everywhere when hydrogen react with oxygen to form water, it makes that ratio only 1:8 in every cases. So you have understood what is compound, and now I am giving you some features about compound. First properties are features is that properties are different than its component, means by which it is made. Somebody can think that if this substance is made up of these substance, it means it has the same property or which these substance possess. Somebody can think, because it is a common sense that marker is made of plastic, that means it retains its property also. Have you got my point? But actually it is mixture. But in a compound, it cannot retain its individual property. It has a new kind of property in itself. That is a strange thing in compound. Have you got my point? So if I take sodium, which reacts with chlorine, sodium is a soft metal. It is very reactive metal. Can burn in the air. And chlorine is a greenish yellow gas. It has a pungent smell and used to bleach the surface. So if in the favorable condition, if these things react, it gave rise to new kind of substance which we call salt. Salt is salty in taste, but sodium is tasteless and chlorine is also tasteless. Salt is solid, but chlorine is gas, sodium is solid. Sodium is grey in color, chlorine is greenish yellow, but salt is like white in color. Sodium has no crystal structure. Chlorine also has no crystal structure, but salt has crystal structure. So you can see here the properties are totally different than these things. If scientists have not discovered, nobody can believe that salt is made of these things, because no any property match with these things. That's why how can you say that salt is come from these two things? So this is strange. It also learn a message about our life. So how we relate with another in our life. So can we decomposed into simpler substances by chemical change? It cannot be separated. It cannot be changed into simpler substances by physical method, but by chemical method it can be changed. If I electrolyze it, salt, then it becomes break down into its constituent particles. Have you got my point? So by chemical method it can be changed. Have you got my point? But we have already told you that element can't be decomposed. Sodium can't be decomposed. It is already in simpler substance. But a compound can be decomposed into simpler constituent particles. But here is another property is that when it is decomposed in always a constant ratio or composition or proportion. It means if I decompose H2O, then it gives hydrogen and oxygen. Yes or not? So this is in the ratio of 1:8 always. This is the unique property, that if you decompose it, it always decomposed in a whatever individual substance it break down, but they make simple ratio with each other. As we see that when a compound is formed, they must have combined with a fixed constant ratio. That's why when we break down the compound, it makes a constant ratio. And I've already told you what are molecules. Molecules are the tiny unit of the compound by which it is made. So every property which molecule possesses also possessed by a compound. A compound is a collection of just molecules, but molecule is formed by chemical combination of two or more than two atoms. Have you got my point? So here you can say H2 is a molecule, and you can also say H2 is a compound. But when we take as a sample for our observation, we say that it is a compound, because in general we cannot separate one unit of this sample. So in general we say that this is a compound, but if you focus on that unit, on single unit of the compound, then we call it H2O is a molecule. Have you got my point? So I've already told you that what is molecule when two or more atoms combine, whether they are of same element or different element, they are called molecule. For example, oxygen combined with oxygen give rise to oxygen molecule. And in the same way, hydrogen combined with hydrogen atom, which gives rise to H2 molecule. Have you got my point? But O2 is also compound. But when we say it is a compound, means I take some collection of molecules of O2. Have you got my point? So every molecule, as I've already told you, that every compound is made by constant ratio of individual atoms. That's why molecule is also, because every compound is made by the collection of molecules. So molecule is also made by the fixed ratio of atoms that we have already told you. If H combined, it gives rise to H2 in the ratio of 1:1. In a similar way, or give rise to H2O in the ratio of 1:8. Have you got my point? So compound is a collection of molecules, means H2O molecule, H2O molecule, H2O molecule, H2O molecule, several. This sample is called compound. Now we understood what is compound and molecule and what are the properties that it possesses. Now I am dealing with the types of compound. Molecular compound means when two or more than two different kind of atoms combine to form a substance called molecular compound. Here hydrogen and oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, they are all different types of atoms which combine, and we call it molecular compound. Elemental compound means when same kind of atom combine to form a substance called elemental compound. And ionic compound, those compound which is made by the ionic bonding, means complete transfer of electrons from one atom to another. So NaCl, MgCl2, it is are the examples of ionic compound. NaCl, in NaCl, sodium lose one electron and chlorine get one electron, and in this way there is attraction, strong attraction force between sodium ion and chlorine ion, and forming a new kind of substance we call salt. Its property is different than sodium and chlorine. Covalent compound are formed by the sharing of electron, means same electron can be used by other atom, on the electrons, same number of electrons of other atom can be used by the first atom. This kind of relationship creates a strong force between atoms which form a new kind of substance called covalent compound. For example, H2O, HCl, CH4, etc. But in covalent compound have very various kind of special properties which we study in bonding, chemical bond. Some covalent compound have polar characteristic and some are non-polar, means neutral. What do you mean by polar? Polar means it may possess some charge on it, and non-polar means charges are cancelled out or becomes neutral. So in what condition charge may appear on the covalent molecule? When the difference between electronegativity is high. More the difference between electronegativity, more charge will appear. Electronegativity is the ability to snatch electrons towards the atom. Fluorine has highest electronegativity number, which is 4, and it can snatch other electrons from its outermost electrons towards it. Have you got my point? So doing this, electrons are attracted towards or displaced towards fluorine, and fluorine makes some partial charge minus, and other atom from which it is displaced has a partial positive charge on it. In this way it becomes polar, means doing this, it create poles on these atoms. Have you got my point? So here oxygen have very high electronegativity than hydrogen. So oxygen can displace its electrons towards this, and doing this it acquired some not complete negative charge but some partial charge on it, lambda minus, and it also have the same partial charge lambda plus, because electron is going towards this. That's why it acquired some negative charge, and in this way also. So it is a polar molecule. But CH4 is not a polar molecule. Why? Why say polarity also depends on orientation of the atom through which it is linked. So here there is 4 hydrogen atom, and so it is linked like this, and difference in electronegativity never gave rise to polarity in this molecule. Why? Because if you say it has delta minus, delta plus, and if you say delta minus plus, uh, so sorry, lambda plus minus, in this way we have thought that the polarity is cancelled out. Here you say in a north direction, south direction with the same value, in the east direction and west direction the same value. So polarity is cancelled out. So it is non-polar molecule. Have you got my point? Now another kind of compound are organic, which is very vital, and we will study in, about this in 12th class in more detail. What are organic compound? Roughly we can say that those compounds which essentially contain carbon and hydrogen but may have oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen, phosphorus, chlorine, fluorine, and these kind of atoms, and can be formed in living substance, living body, or can be extracted from the living body. These kind of substances are called organic compound. For example, alcohol, lactic acid, citric acid, DNA, sucrose, fructose, these are the organic compounds. Now, what are inorganic? Those compounds which are not organic in itself. Generally the cyanide, nitrate, nitrites, sulfate, sulfide, carbonate, the compound of these kind of radicals are generally known as inorganic compounds. For example, carbon dioxide, ozone, nitric acid, these are prepared in the laboratory only and cannot be formed in the living body, but and cannot be extracted from the living body. So so these are inorganic compounds. We have now learned various things or related to compound. Now I am dealing with mixture. What are the mixtures? Mixture is the mixture is when two or more substance or two or more kind of particles are taken together but cannot have certain composition. Means it cannot bind with fixed ratio, as we have already seen in the case of compound. So and the more important thing in mixture is all components retain its property after mixing also. I have already told you that in compound a new kind of property arises, but in mixture no new kind of property if given rise to, but the same property which components possess also possessed by mixture. For example, if I mix sand with water, after stirring we got a mixture, and the mixture have same property as soil as well as water. It cannot give rise to a new kind of substance which have new properties. So it means it has no their particles are not linked with so strong bond as in case of compound or molecule. That's why it can be separated by physical method. Sometimes it may be distinguishable or sometimes may not be. For example, if I mix the soil and water, it may be distinguishable by looking at it. You can surely confirm that this mixture contain soil as well as water. But sometimes you cannot say by only looking at it. For example, if you take salt and water solution, and then we cannot say by looking at it only that it possesses salt. You can only say that uh, it is water. Have you got my point? So sometimes it is distinguishable, sometimes not. So these are the examples: water, oil, soil, water, soil, water, salt, and the various kind of mixture we can see around us. That some are homogeneous, some are heterogeneous. What are the homogeneous mixture? Homogeneous means, the word means, the homo means alike, and genus means the group and a species. Means if you look at it, you feel that everywhere it looks like same. In the case of let's say salt and water, you cannot distinguish that here is the another particle, here is another particle. Everywhere it appears same, alike. That's why it is called homogeneous. Why it is alike? The reason is it has same composition and density throughout the space. Means in per unit volume it has same number of particles are present everywhere. If you take 1 meter cube from this place of that solution of that mixture, and 1 meter cube of that mixture from this place, then you count the numbers of the particles available on the 1 meter cube in the two places, then you found that the same number of particles are available on from those places. Have you got my point? Means it has same composition throughout and density is same for homogeneous mixture. And in this case you cannot distinguish it. You cannot by looking at it only, you cannot say that this mixture contains this, and this. So there are some example: air, mixture of hydrogen and oxygen and gases, and water, salt, etc. The homogeneous mixture can be separated by various methods. You will have to study in 9th class about some of the methods like boiling, freezing, distillation, fractional distillation, and so on. You have to study, or you were dealt about it in 9th class. If you have forgotten, please go to your 9th class chapter and study it. And another important thing about the homogeneous mixture is it doesn't show Tyndall effect. What do you mean by Tyndall effect? Tyndall effect is the phenomenon of light. When the light enters into the mixture or substance, it reflected or scattered in the perpendicular direction, in which you can see the sparkling of light. But for the Tyndall effect, particle size must be bigger. In the homogeneous solution or mixture, the particle size is very small. That's why it has a bigger space between two particles in the mixture, and the most of the light can pass easily through it without any scattering. That's why it doesn't show Tyndall effect. Now what are heterogeneous? Heteros means different, as you know, and genus means species, means composition is not uniform, density is not uniform, or you take the same volume from one place and same volume from another, you got different number of particles present in it. And it is generally distinguishable. You can see looking at it that there are different kind of substance available in general, water, sand, or water, oil. And there are two kinds of heterogeneous mixture, that is suspension and colloid. Suspension and colloid are categorized on the basis of the particle size. If the particle size is smaller, it is colloid, and particle size is bigger, it is suspension. Due to smaller size in particle, colloid has many special kind of properties. You will study in surface chemistry class 12th. So here milk is a colloid, water oil is suspension. Because these mixture has bigger particle size, that's why it can show Tyndall effect. Its particles can scatter the light. So what are the main difference between solution, colloid, or suspension? I have given you some idea about it. So solution is also called homogeneous mixture, and colloid and suspension are the types of heterogeneous mixture. That means, for example, alcohol water mixture and so on. Its size is less than 1 nanometer. That's why it cannot show Tyndall effect. But the colloid and suspension are higher than these. Colloid size is 1 nanometer to 1000 nanometer, but the suspension, the solid particle size is more than 1000 nanometer. And these two types of mixtures can show Tyndall effect, but it cannot. So due to the smaller size between suspension and not too big or not too small, and that's why colloid has some special kind of property you will study in surface chemistry. So these are the kind of about what are compounds and mixture. In the next lecture, we will study about the main content of basic chemistry. Thank you for watching.